One of the things I wanted to get into is because some of the things that you've been working here in Chile is with angel investment and acting as an advisor to different technology companies. And when I arrived to Chile 12 years ago, there was definitely a supplier base around technology, but it was very local. You didn't see a lot of technologies that were the next stage that could be exported. But what I've noticed the last 5 years is that this has really changed in Chile. There's a lot of new and up and coming companies that now have solutions that are not only good for Chile, but are also good for the world. And they're actually starting to move into Australia. And that was something that honestly, in my opinion, has changed in the last 5 years. I'm curious to you what you're seeing from that aspect, from the local technology and what is potentially coming out to the world.
Yeah, look, that journey I think started around about 2005 when the administration of the day, this is the country administration, the government of the day said, you know, we're going to put a royalty on mining, and that's going to go into driving innovation. And I think mining have stepped into that space, and if you look at BHP, Codelco, Collahuasi, Antofagasta Minerals, I think Teck's there as well. You know, they're using a lot of more open innovation, using Foundation Chile, and they expand their area as a way of publishing problems so they can actually look at getting external solutions to see how they can resolve that. You know, that was unmentionable in the past. And it's a journey, but it's not just happening in mining. I went to an event recently, I can't remember what it's called, but the amount of companies which have got their own little corporate ventures going, the amount of startups and that is absolutely incredible, and you wouldn't have seen that even 10 years ago. So you know, the growth in that space is tremendous. Obviously, from a government point of view, there's been a lot of pressure on mining to do things differently, being the major revenue provider to the government's coffers. And I think that's right as well, because, you know, how do you take an industry which is not sustainable and use that to actually finance things which can help a country grow? And it's still fairly timid if you look at against the other OECD countries in that, but it's better than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
It's certainly better than it was 5 years ago, so it means we're on the right trajectory. A few years ago, there was a study which came out, just to complement what you said, where Santiago actually had, on a city level, the highest concentration of startups in the mining industry. And that's what was higher than Melbourne and Brisbane and that, so on a city level. Country level, Australia and Canada and places that were slightly superior. So we're doing something right there. Unfortunately, it's still really difficult for startups, Chilean startups, to engage well with mining companies in Chile. Sometimes they have more success actually engaging in other countries, and that's just part of the. Well, I think I know what the problem is. I think the problem is because we've got gigantic miners. Yeah. The step is too big from a scale point of view. I think if we look at the met sector in Australia, they grew rapidly because there's a lot of small and medium companies going through their different metal cycles and employment and disemployment. There's a lot of people who had knowledge and ideas, and they went in and developed those as part of, and that grew the met sector. There's not very much engagement for small and medium here. Everything points to the big companies. But as I said, they're gigantic, they're not big, and I think it's a bridge too far.
Absolutely.